Hey guys, what's going on? Alex Prol here. Today I wanted to take some time to talk to you guys about how to develop something you learned from another player, right? Recently I posted this video about this indie wood lick that I love. I think he actually got it from Brent Mason. I'm not sure. If you don't know who Andy Wood is, he's an incredible player. This guy can play anything. He's like country guy, plays like all sorts of also like rock and shred stuff and Van Halen and you name it. He's incredible. So the lick that that I'm talking about is this one, right? In the key of A, right? If you just think of like an A dominant chord, like thinking of an A7, he plays a select here, right? Right, which is super cool, right? Which is like an A7, right? He's thinking mixo here. He's playing, if you're thinking the key of A, you're thinking, here he goes from the perfect fifth to the major six, right? Right? He's thinking like maybe your relative minor pentatonic, so your F sharp minor pentatonic, right? Thinking of the shape here, right? Or if you're thinking caged, the shape, the A shape, right? Things you play over that shape. So he's playing, this is your A, right? You have your root, minor, major third, and then he alters from here to your major third in your minor seventh, right? It's kind of dissonant sound here. So good, right? So I actually play this with a hammer. He actually alternates. Right? I find that that's like not organic for me, so I just rather just. But that's me. You know, you play any way you want it. But that's the idea of the lick, right? And then you can of course like transpose it to, like if you play in D, you're gonna play something similar like, right? But then let's just stay with this one, right? So the first thing I like to do when I learn a new lick is to just like try to use it, overuse it, like use it all the time when you're practicing home, not at gigs, but you know, when you, on your practice, just like try it over everything and just if you're playing like a traditional 1-4-5, just play it over all those chords until you're like sick of it, right? And then what I like to do next is try to like explore different possibilities, things that I can do with that lick that I can kind of like turn it into my own a little bit, and I love this exploration thing. It's so cool. It's like the things you can find is just like mind-boggling, right? So today I was like, I was thinking about that lick. I was like, what can I do with that? So I was sitting with it and I couldn't find anything else. I was like, oh, maybe I can do, which is kind of cool, right? Or here. I was like, I'm not sure. And then I thought, what if I stop thinking about like dominant chords and start thinking of major seventh chords, right? So I was like, let me go to the key of E. So, right, there's your E major seven there. It's like, okay, so I know that for like a D7, when you're playing that and transpose it to D, I will play here, right? So okay, so I just picked the key of E, so I know that my E is here, right? Again, you should know your chord inversions. That's very important. That's how I find these things very quickly. And like I know that your E is root position, right? First inversion, second inversion on all groups of 3 strings at a time, going on the horizontal and also going on the vertical. But that's a conversation for another time. So let's assume you guys know that. So this position here of the E chord, right? You can think of your E chord like this, you're just playing this chunk. So if the dominant is outlining your E7, now all I have to do is raise that minor seventh to a major seventh, right? So, which is right here, right? So this is just an E major triad, right? You have your perfect fifth, you have your root, and you have your major third. So instead of playing your minor seventh, we're gonna play a major seventh. Isn't that kind of cool? I was like, I like that. I like this. I like like the position, like how the notes sound against each other there, because you got a minor second interval here from the major seventh to the root, right? This here. That's like dissonant sounding, right? But that's within the chord. It's inside the chord. So I was like, huh. So if I go back to the idea of that lick, right? Okay, cool. So I play that, and then I look just at E. And I was happy with that. I was like, cool, found something I like. But let me try to see where I can take this, if I can take it any further. And then I thought, okay, let me just think of like what if I do a 1-4 in the key of E major, right? So I'm assuming you guys know your triads and tetrads, polychords, diatonic to the key of E major, right? Yeah, Ionian. If you don't, I'm just gonna say very quick. So that one chord will be your E major if it's a triad, or you want an E major 7 maybe, and then your 4 chords are A major, right? And if you want like a leading sound, you can put the D sharp there. But I'm just gonna keep this simple, just triads, so like 1-4, right? So I was thinking, okay, so I could go. Okay, that's cool. That's a bit of a stretch here, right? Especially at the beginning of the neck, but I was like, okay, it's doable. Sounds good. I still like this, the minor second interval there, so let's keep it. Okay, now let me think of a bigger chord progression, right? So then, and then I just ended up playing this. This is what spoke to me for some reason. So I played something like. These 4 chords, so 1 major to 4 major to 2 minor, and I just added a 2 minor 7 with an 11th here. It's all within the scale, and then the 3rd minor 7th also with the 11th, right? Because I just because I like that sound, and you know, from one of the 7ths also. So I looked at, right? Now let me play the lick just over the first 2 chords. Like, okay, cool. Playing wasn't perfect just now, it doesn't matter. So then you hear kind of like how something like that you can explore it, and it inspires you to do something of your own, right? And then I was like, okay, cool. What do I play over the F sharp minor though, right? Like, okay, so I was thinking, well, if I do, I could try maybe like a root to minor 3rd, and then I would have perfect 5th here, right? Right? F sharp minor arpeggio, right? And maybe like the minor 7th here, I could go. I was like, okay, yeah, I could play that for minor chords. But you know what? Maybe let me find something else. So I did, because if you remember back to the Andy lick, he doesn't only play notes from the A major chord, right? So again, his lick was A. Right? I was like, okay. So he's playing a perfect 5th to a major 6 here. So it was just a note that's inside the scale, diatonic to the key of A. So why don't I try the same thing in the key of E? So for the F sharp minor, because I'm happy with this for the E, and I'm happy with this for the A, but I'm not really happy with this. Sounds too basic for me. Could do that, but let me see something else. So I thought, oh, maybe, like I can think of like a F sharp minor. If you think of F sharp minor here, and then, right, your inversion's going on the vertical, right? So okay, I have F sharp minor here, or a minor seventh here. I could feel that. So I was like, oh, what if I play like, because you know I have a D sharp here, so I could go. And I like that sound way better than. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just me, to my ears, I like this better for that chord progression, right? Like, okay, cool, I like that. But what about this guy? Or G sharp minor 7th, right? We're like a 11. We're like, okay, so I could do some like similar, right? So, right? Because I'm like, now I'm playing the E from the scale, only notes diatonic to the E major scale, right? So I'm thinking of the G sharp minor here, right? F sharp minor here, G sharp minor, right? So I was like, okay, so here's my minor 7th right here. Okay, so just get one note behind where I want to go. Just like the same idea for the F sharp minor. One note behind, I'm thinking F sharp minor 7th here. Just getting one note behind that 7th, right? And just keep it diatonic to E, so a note behind a G sharp minor, E, not half step behind, in this case a whole step behind, right? So cool, so I got. I was like, oh, let me see how that sounds like, I guess, the chord progression, right? Find something that inspires you, right? So, you know, this is a great way to just not just like learn something from a player you like. Is step number one. Step number one, you can get so much more out of it if you understand what the thing you learn is, right? The behind the curtains. That's also like when I teach any student anything that they like, I always tell them, let's learn what's behind this, because then you can make it, you turn that knowledge from that player into your own knowledge, and then once you fully understand what you're playing, then you can manipulate that into whatever you want, and that becomes, and you create something that's yours, right? So if you just heard me playing some like right? You would never imagine that I learned that from, I took that from Andy Wood thing, that maybe took that from Brett Mason thing, right? So I don't think that Andy was actually altered. I think he's playing what Brett Mason played, which again, there's nothing wrong with playing the original stuff. But in this case, it's just to show you how when you learn something, you understand the behind the scenes, or behind the curtains, then you can turn that into your own knowledge, because you know, if you think about it, everything kind of like has been created, right? The knowledge is out there for everybody. The knowledge is the same, the theory is the same, but what you do with it, that's what makes you can, that's with that understanding, that's how you make things sound fresh and new, right? So I guess my tip for you guys today is not to just learn something that you like and just end there, right? Try to understand the theory behind it, the technique behind it, everything that's behind that, and then take your time to just sit down and try to come up with something using that same theory and same techniques that is yours. And sometimes it will be, in this case, was getting something that was kind of like a mixo sounding, right? Like a dominant sounding. And like, because at first I tried to stay within the mixo stuff, and I really didn't come up with something that was that different, you know. Or I was like, that sounds blah, you know. But then I was like, you know, let me change scales, you know. So try the same idea. In this case, that's what worked for me. That's what spoke to me, is trying it, the same technique and the same idea, but with a different scale, and trying, in this case, like I was like, let me just think of a chord progression that inspires me with this, and it ended up being 1/4, like 2 minor, 3 minor, and then let me just try to create that sort of a lick, following the chord progression, right? So that was, again, that was the 1 major 7th. This was the 4 major 7th, and then for the 2 minor, I ended up going right, and then for the 3 minor, I ended up going right. So then, you know, that becomes something else, and if I play that, you wouldn't have known that it came from any wood. That was the seed of this idea, right? So yeah, and again, I teach here from my studio in Nashville, and remotely as well. So if you guys any of you guys are looking to have private lessons, just reach out to me, to my email at prolguitar@gmail.com, and we'll get started. All right, until next time, bye.